So Gemara says like this. Or the Rav Elazar says, a person was born for hard work. And it says, he quotes a pasuk, there's a pasuk in Eov, it says, Adam la'amal yulad, which means a person was made to work. Okay? But the Gemara says, he doesn't know, Rav Elazar says, he doesn't know, does it mean amal peh, meaning working with your mouth, we'll explain what that is, or hard labor, manual labor. And he goes on to bring a few verses, and then the Gemara brings a pasuk in Yeshua. So he's not sure again, does hard work mean hard work with the mouth, or hard work with physical labor? And then they bring a pasuk from Yeshua that says, Lo yomush sefer Torah zeh mipicha. The Torah should not leave your mouth. So it comes out that it's telling us that a person was created to work hard with his mouth, meaning to study Torah, to speak in Torah. So you have the Gemara says, I'm not sure when a person we know for sure is created with hard work. But was he created for hard work in Torah, or for hard work as manual labor? And brings a pasuk in Yeshua to say that a human being was created for hard work in Torah. Now, my Rishiva Rav Aaron Feldman asked a very obvious question. What was the Gemara's Havamina? What was the Gemara thinking that a person was created just for hard work, which is not in Torah? A person's created to work on a construction site. That's how he's going to fulfill his life. A person's created to commute in Manhattan every day, to work on Wall Street. A person is created to become a gardener. I mean, like, why did we even think that? So he explains like this, that human beings, the way Hashem made a human being, is that for him to feel fulfilled, he needs to work and produce. You can't be if you're a person that just sits around and does nothing all day, you're not going to feel good about yourself as a human, because that's not how Hashem made people. Hashem made people that to feel good about yourself, you have to live according to your purpose. And what's your purpose? La'amal yulad, to work, to be productive. If you're not productive, there ain't no way to feel good about yourself. That's what they say what does it say when a person retires? They get
lazy.
No, but there's a phrase: when you retire, you rot. Not rot. It's rhymes. I don't know, whatever it is. But sometimes people retire and then they get they don't feel good about themselves because they're not doing anything. Other people retire and they become, do a lot of productive things. So that's the Havamina. Now, you might think that therefore that Hashem just created us to work. We could fulfill it by doing any type of work. Says the Gemara, no. The real work, the way He wants us to be productive, is in Torah, by becoming successful and studying Torah. And he told an interesting story that there was an article. He read an article. It was a 57-year-old lawyer, and he woke up one day and he thought that, my whole life I've been spending writing legal briefs. I've been defending clients. I guess he was a tax attorney or something. He said, that's what I spent my life doing. That's what I'm proud of. He felt like he never accomplished anything. So what did he do? He decided. Why did he start thinking? He started thinking about this because he had a deathly, illness. So he started thinking, that's when people wake up. Well, what did I do with my life?
Yeah, of course.
God gave me this wonderful gift. How am I spending it? So this lawyer woke up and he felt that he wasn't being very productive. He wasn't being successful. So what he decided to do is that he wanted to find something where he would be productive and contribute. Now, what he actually ended up doing was he found he liked making pottery, and he dedicated the rest of his life to making pottery.
Okay.
And he would design it and then put it in the kiln and he felt productive. But Rishiva said he had the idea right, but he missed the boat. This guy, right? He knew he wanted to produce something, because when you produce something, you feel good about yourself. Except he decided to do it for a thing which was so on such a low level, so meaningless.
Yeah.
Making pottery, what good does that do anyone? Now, if you would make pottery to give to poor people who couldn't afford things, right? That would be a great thing and a very big mitzvah. But he missed the boat. But he intuitively knew that to feel good about himself, he had to be productive. But the way to really feel productive is to live according to our purpose. Now, what's our purpose? Our purpose is to serve Hashem and to express our neshama. There are three parts of our soul, three general parts of our soul. There's something called the nefesh, something called the ruach, and something called the neshama. The nefesh is the part of our soul that has like animalistic desires, eat, reproduce, things like that. The ruach is our personality, our feelings, things like that. But there's another part of our soul which is even beyond that, which we don't always feel directly. That's called our neshama. That's the part of our soul that yearns to become close to Hashem. And for a Jewish person to be happy, the only way a Jewish person can be happy, as the verse says, is to work. But he has to work for his neshama. A Jewish person is not going to be happy making pottery. He might feel a little better because he's being productive. You decide you want to, garden, and that's your thing. Okay, so you feel productive. You feel good about yourself when you produce something. But there's going to be something missing. The only time you're really going to feel totally complete is when you live productively and work hard productively for your purpose. And for every Jew, that's the same thing, is for our neshama, for our soul. And what's the best way to get in contact with our soul and connecting our soul to Hashem? Is through studying Torah, working to studying Torah. And that's something we often forget. We come to classes and we learn, but to really be successful in Torah and to make it impact us even more, it demands hard work. That means, for example, learning Torah when we're very tired and we don't feel like it. Or maybe there's something we don't understand, so instead of giving up, we think and we think and we think. Or even we make an effort to call a rabbi to ask a question. Or do you know that even getting out of your seat to let's say you have a question, you're reading something, let's say you're learning the Gemara or something, and it quotes a verse from the Chumash, and you don't know what it's referring to. So, even just getting out of your seat in order to pick up a Chumash, that's called working for Torah. And when we work for Torah, when we put in even the physical effort, then it makes a greater impact on us and a greater impact on our neshama.
I have a Chumash at home. I've read it several times already.
It's interesting you said that, because one of the ways that Rabbi Feldman mentions that to put in work in Torah is by reviewing it. Now, why specifically is that work? Why is reviewing work? Because often we get excited when we learn something new. It's exciting, we never learned it before. But in order to remember it, you have to review it. You have to go over it over and over again. But that's very hard for people, because it's like, I learned this already, why am I doing it again? Like studying for a test, right?
You always learn something new every time you read it.
That's true. If everyone had your perspective on reviewing, that would be great. But many people, you'd be surprised to know, find review difficult. It's not as exciting because you know a lot of it. But you're right, you always do find something new. So when you push yourself to review it, that's also called a Melas B'Torah. Actually, that's Chazal, apparently. Now, there's an interesting... before that, that's actually one of the downsides of the internet. I mean, it's a plus and it's a minus. If you have a question now on anything in Judaism, or you need a copy of a book, you just type it in, and you get it in a second, very easily. Back in the day, if you needed a sefer, if you needed a book, you had to physically get up and go to the library. Now, let's say maybe that library didn't have it, so you'd have to drive to another library. Let's say I needed a sefer in Manalapan. I remember doing it before all this farm on the internet. I would go to the Kollel. Maybe the Kollel didn't have it. I would check Chabad. Chabad didn't have it. And then many times I had to drive all the way to Lakewood to BMG, to the yeshiva library there to get the sefer. Now, what do you think I remember better? The time when nowadays when I just easily Google the sefer and look it up online, or when I had to drive a half hour? Right. Because that was hard work. Because putting in the hard work in Torah, it makes it a part of you. It makes it a part of the person. And it's when it comes to Torah, a person should always work hard for good things. But there's a special mitzvah to work hard when studying Torah. Not only do we remember it better, but it has a bigger impact, and it changes our neshama, and it makes us closer to Hashem than if we weren't. Right? There's a difference if they say a story, an apocryphal story. There was a fellow. He was learning a sefer called the Shemaita, which it's a very, very difficult book, very hard book to read, very, very intricate and very hard to understand. You have to work really hard. And he was doing it on a hammock, drinking a lemonade. So his rabbi walked by. He says, "This is how you learn a Shemaita?" He said, "No, this is how I drink a lemonade." So sometimes we're tired, so we learn. You learn easy, read an easy thing, an interesting Torah idea. But there's other times when we have to learn. We have to sit up straight. We got to be focused, and we have to we have to, as the kids say, we have to lock in, we have to zone in. There's a Gemara in Yevamos in Menachos. It says that Avimi forgot Maseches Menachos. He forgot his learning, the rabbi named Avimi. So what did he do? He traveled to his student, Rav Chizda, to have his student remind him of what he forgot. Now the Gemara asks, why? He was the teacher. Why is the teacher going to the student? He should make the student come to him. So the answer is, well, the Gemara says because he felt this way he would be more successful. Now why? Rashi says, because Yagati Umatzati. Rav Chizda, Avimi, purposely wanted to put an effort that he himself is going to walk to his student's house, and that way he's putting an effort and it'll help him remember the Gemara more. Right? If he would call for a student, that's not putting in so much effort. But if he's going to physically walk there, then he's going to put in the effort.
I listen to Alan class twice a week, and I listen to Rabbi Heidler every Wednesday.
That is phenomenal, and you are definitely from the people that put in hard work when it comes to Torah.
I really like listening to Rabbi Heidler's class. Last night was really good.
He's fantastic.
He gets better every week. He does.
You read stories about rabbis from like Europe, and they would, leave to yeshiva when they were 12, 13 years old,
right.
Little boys, and you were talking about they didn't see their parents, and then maybe a letter once in a while, and very often they didn't have enough food, they were very poor, but they sat and they worked very hard to study Torah, and they barely slept, and there was a Rabbi Shimon Shkup, who didn't have enough money to buy bread, so he would just go by the bakery so he could smell it a little bit.
I used to go to the Kollel in Lakewood when Rabbi Heisler was there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I used to do that years ago.
There's another interesting
me and Al Harburg, we started the Kollel in Sons of Israel. We're the first ones. The Rabbi Bernstein.
Okay. So the reason, why am I talking about all this? About working hard in Torah is because Shavuos is coming up in a few days.
Exactly.
And Shavuos is the day when we get the Torah. So this time, what we mentioned a few weeks ago, this time of the year is specifically when we work hard in rededicating ourselves to learning Torah.
Right.
It's a time where we can, let's say some of us, sometimes we can get distracted when we learn, we'll check our phones and we'll do this. This is a time when we lock in and we study more with greater intensity and we try to grow whatever level we're at. There's a Gemara that says, Rav Yosef B'Yomadet Sarta. There was a rabbi, his name was Rav Yosef. And on Shavuos, Amar Avdili Igla Tilsa. He would tell, I guess, his servant or whoever to prepare for him a certain type of calf, like a young cow, as a delicacy, a very expensive meal for Shavuos. Why? Why on Shavuos specifically did he make such an expensive meal? So Amar said, "Ilav hayayim." If it wasn't for this day, the kagarim kama Yosef yiga b'shuka. If it wasn't for this day of Shavuos, there's so many Joes in the street. He said I would be an average Joe. The only reason I'm special, he said, is because I study Torah. Think about it. What would we what would we be if we didn't have Torah? We'd be just like everybody else. We'd be. It's interesting when I see older adults get like really into sports.
Yeah.
It just like puzzles me. Because they're so emotionally invested in like the Knicks going on.
They get crazy.
But in a way, it's like you get emotionally invested over sports. Like there's so many more important things in life to get emotionally invested about. And when you get to a point where Torah is just like so important to you because that's the will of Hashem, it's like you look at it like, I used to get into sports when I was 12. It's because I was 12. I didn't know any better. But like as an adult, you realize there's so much more out there. Especially, we were talking about the three parts of the soul: the nefesh, the ruach, and the neshama. And we're saying that a Jewish person, he's in touch with his neshama, the part of his soul that wants to get close to Hashem. And once that's a part of your soul to get close to Hashem, everything else is not important because that's the most important thing in the world is to get close to Hashem. So, and what's the main way to get close to Hashem? The way is
learning Torah.
Learning Torah, exactly.
What number Omar was it yesterday?
Yesterday was 46.
Okay, so 47 tonight.
Yesterday was 46. And also, it's interesting. There's another secret. We're talking about living for your neshama. We're saying the main way to do that is by studying Torah. There's another way you can live for your neshama, which means let's think. The nefesh, the other parts of the soul, they're focused on the self. Our feelings, we think about ourselves. What do I need? Our physical drives. I'm hungry. I'm this. I'm me. It's all this. Our neshama is the exact opposite. It's focused on others. The part of us that wants to get close to Hashem wants to help other people. Wants to do chesed, be kind. Wants to call a friend who might be a little lonely. Wants us to reach out to somebody, visit a sick person, comfort someone who lost somebody, lend money to someone who's very poor. Our nefesh doesn't want to do that because we're selfish. We want to our ruach. We want to keep it for ourselves. But our neshama says no. Hashem put me here to do mitzvos and to care about other people. So I want to do that. So it's a constant battle between our nefesh and our neshama. So the way, and you know the secret way, where a person is only happy when he lives for his neshama. We can't ignore our neshama. If we just live for our nefesh and the ruach, we're living for selfishness, we're living for ourselves, we'll never be happy. The secret to happiness is living for our neshama. So we're saying the way to do that, one, is working hard in Torah, and two, is thinking about other people and thinking beyond ourselves. And that's what we should focus on Shavuos, because Shavuos was the day when the Jewish people, our soul, got on a higher level and became elevated. And we got in touch with our neshama. So this time of year is like perfect to rededicate, and whatever level we're at, we could always grow more. That's the thing. There's an infinite amount of levels we could grow. So even though you're a very holy Jew that learns all the time, there's still room for you to grow because it's infinite. So, but you're on the right track. And
you know that I look forward to davening every morning.
That's beautiful.
You know what? I'm really into it now. I use my finger to point to every word so I can enunciate every word.
That's beautiful. Do you know what the Reb Chaim Volozhiner says, that every word of davening is like a sacrifice that you're bringing to Hashem.
Really?
Because nowadays we used to bring sacrifices in the temple. Now we don't have that.
Of course.
Every word in Shemona Esrei that we say, it's like we're taking it and we're sacrificing it to Hashem. So that's beautiful what you're doing. It's another way. We didn't even talk about the davening and how that connects us to Hashem. But that's what we're talking about.
Every morning.